Hello, people. Welcome to the Rubin Report Year-End Spectacular. We are here in the Young Turks studio at the Young Turks desk, and I've brought with you a very special panel for our Year-End Spectacular. It's the COO of the Young Turks himself, Steve O, COO, and your last name's O.
I'm honored to be here.
This is your debut. It took us a year to get you on the show.
I've been trying to get on this show for a long time, and I know some people who work on the show, pull some strings, and they got me on.
We heard questionable things about your reputation, so we wanted to wait till it was the end of the year.
Yes.
And then we'll see what happens. And a veteran of the Rubin Report, and can I call you the in-house Young Turks comedian?
Yes, thank you very much. I like that moniker.
Mr.
Sure.
Jimmy Dore.
The in-house.
The in-house.
Yes, it's better than being the outhouse.
You could be that guy too.
Comedian, I'll tell you that.
All right, so we are going to cover what I think are the biggest stories of the year, and we're going to start with the NSA, because that certainly, I think, was the biggest one, and definitely the biggest one, at least around these parts that we walk around in. So let's start with what I think is the clip of the year, and I'm calling this the lie of the year, although a lot of people are talking about the Obamacare, if you like it, you can keep it thing, which we're going to get to. This is James Clapper, the director of the NSA. He was at the Senate, not Foreign Relations, the Armed Services Committee hearing on the NSA, and he gave us a whopper.
What I wanted to see is if you could give me a yes or no answer to the question, does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
All right, so we've talked about this many times. You know, that's right out of Seinfeld. When you're lying, the higher up on your head that you touch, that means it's a bigger lie, and he pretty much nailed that one right there. We now know this is a 100% lie. He was under oath right there when he did that. Is this the biggest lie of the year? For sure. That's got to be the biggest lie of the year, right?
Well, I think, of course, it's the biggest lie because you saw how hard he was punished right after he said that.
Right.
Right after he said that, they immediately gave him a raise and they gave him a promotion. So now he's in charge. I don't know what his exact position is, but he's in charge of everybody again.
Well, he's like running the committee that's going to review the whole problem in the first place after he lied about it.
The guy, all he did was lie to Congress. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
But they blame Senator Ron Wyden for that. They say that's his fault because he shouldn't have asked that question. That guy's not supposed to be. Yeah. So that's how he got around lying to Congress.
Steve, do you have any sympathy for a guy that was asked a question that maybe he shouldn't have been asked? I'm being slightly sarcastic, obviously.
I'm outraged by this story. In fact, I'm so outraged I can't make any jokes about it because it's it's ridiculous. So James Clapper, head of the NSA, was formerly an executive at Booz Allen Hamilton.
Yeah.
And
And now,
what do they do?
They have a no-bid contract to provide data mining services for the NSA.
What a crazy coincidence.
Kidding.
It's an amazing and happy coincidence for all involved. So when the story first broke, I said immediately to Cenk, I bet you any amount of money that this is not really about our security or even about spying on Americans. This is really about money. Someone's making a lot of money off of this, and I guarantee that's why this is happening. And very quickly we found out, yes, it's all about Booz Allen Hamilton. So Clapper is now head of the NSA, and he was a former executive at Booz Allen. Booz Allen's current executive was a former NSA guy. So it's a revolving door. Yeah. And for these guys to say, yes, possibly, probably, unwittingly, I don't know, maybe, I mean, come on. I mean, it makes a mockery of the whole system. And if you can get away with these lies that impact all Americans, essentially, then it's hard to take government seriously, it's hard to take the rule of law seriously, and it just breeds contempt for the whole process.
Yeah, so I want to talk about the bigger part of that you're getting to, but just lastly, with the lie itself, why are there no repercussions? If you were to lie under oath in a murder trial, you know what I mean? There are repercussions. Why are these people held with total impunity?
Because he's lying in the protection of power. He's
That's
not.
right.
He's not lying when he's trying to screw over power. He's lying to protect them. So they all go, "Oh, he's helping. He's helping us. So it's okay. And it's okay if you lie and you're on our side." That's basically it.
Yeah.
And. But if you lie about cum on a dress or getting a blowjob in a hallway of the Oval Office,
Much worse.
We're going to have to impeach you.
Yeah.
But if you lie about actually subverting the Constitution, and then that's okay.
Yeah, so speaking to the bigger issues that you mentioned there, has Obama sort of been let off the hook with this thing? Because it seems like this whole thing has happened. It's happened, obviously it started under George W. Bush, but it's happened on Obama's watch too. And nobody really associates him with that because you have all these clowns like Clapper that make such ridiculous statements that...
To be honest, I don't know, and I'm a harsh Obama critic, but on this, yes, I wish he were more of a leader. I wish he would take the position, hey, not on my watch, we're not going to have this, we're not going to violate the Constitution, we're not going to waste taxpayer money, we're going to do the right thing. But to be honest, I don't think any president, to be honest, is really in charge of this whole apparatus that's been built over decades of national security and defense, because God forbid if anything happened, all fingers point to Obama.
Yes.
Say, you know what, Obama, because you stopped us spying on Americans, now we have this terrorist strike, so blood is on your hands.
Right, but doesn't that show a huge flaw in our system? That I totally agree with you. The president, I don't know how much he knew or how much he doesn't know or how much they let him be privy to purposely because they don't want it getting all the way up to him so he can't get in trouble for it. But doesn't that show a flaw in the system if the president himself can't control these types of things?
Well, I don't know whether he can or the flaw in the system is that everybody goes along. I think that's the flaw in the system, including the media, seem to go along unless it directly affects them. Then they get pissed off.
They got really pissed about.
Hey, you're tapping our phone? What the fuck?
Yeah.
But if you tap everyone's phone, well, then so nobody really cares about that stuff. So is there a flaw in the system? I think there's a flaw in the overall system that the people who are the watchdogs for our society are now co-opted by the people they're supposed to be watching. And so that's why things like this happen. That's why you can cut food stamps at the same time if you're giving doctors raises in the same bill, right? So we need a watchdog, and that's why we're here.
Don't forget corn subsidies. I love the
That's
corn
right, corn
subsidies.
subsidies.
That's my big one.
And the thing too, the reason why I don't blame Obama even more than I want to blame him on this NSA issue is that there is no real public outrage either. It's only the far right and the far left who are upset.
Yes.
The vast majority of people seem to be like, whatever, privacy, schmivacy, whatever, we don't care. There's no outcry from the media, because you need to have all of that to empower the president to put a stop to something that's been going on for so long.
Yeah.
He can't just do it on his own because he could be wrong. He's not, and this president is not the leader that's gonna make that kind of bold
This is not
step.
his.
This is not him. He's a consensus builder. He's a bureaucrat in many ways, and he's not gonna be that guy who says we're gonna go in my direction and I'm gonna pull everyone in my way. He's not that guy.
Yeah.
And without the outrage, it just won't happen.
So final thought on this. So obviously we have to bring up Edward Snowden. What should happen to him now? Because that seems to be the debate now is he going to stay in Russia forever? Is he going to maybe make it to Brazil? We have all these fools, I think, like Dianne Feinstein saying he should come back here and face face the music. Is there any chance he comes back here? Should he come back here? I don't think so.
I don't know why you wouldn't trust a system that you just exposed for being completely corrupt to judge you on whether you exposing them was okay or not. Why wouldn't you? Well, I don't understand. It's like, why don't we let the KKK, why don't you go back and have them give you a trial to see if you're really black or not?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the craziest thing that people say. Why don't you come back here and take your lump? What are you, fucking nuts? I wouldn't do it. First, I wouldn't even have done what he did. What he did was heroic, right? And of course, they don't want any of the truth to come out. And if the only thing worse than doing what James Clapper did is doing what Edward Snowden did, which is actually telling the truth.
Right, and that's sort of when I don't know if you guys saw it on CNN, but Jeffrey Toobin, who's consistently been
wrong about this,
completely wrong on this, and he wants Snowden to come back and face the music. Yet at the same time, is saying that the things that he's revealed, it's good we know it. But the guy should be in jail for telling us, which makes no sense. So, do you agree with Jimmy on that?
Absolutely. I mean, the idea that you are in the belly of the beast, and you know all the abuses that are happening, you know that they're spying on Americans in violation of the Fourth Amendment, you know that there are indefinite detentions, you know that people are being extraordinary rendition.
Right.
I mean, not that I fear that they're going to. Well, maybe they would torture Snowden too, because look what they did to Bradley Manning.
Yes.
Or he just dies in jail.
Yeah,
magically,
or you know, there's an unfortunate accident.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, asking Snowden to submit himself to this system that has done all of this is freaking insane.
Yeah.
And it's just not true. I mean, Dianne Feinstein doesn't have. She doesn't have the courage to face 1/10 of what Snowden would be facing if he came back to the United States.
Yes, the people who are in charge of protecting us, like Dianne Feinstein and Mike Rogers, the head of the Congressional Intelligence Committee, they're not. They're co-opted by the people they're supposed to be regulating.
Yeah, so I imagine the following would happen to Snowden. They'll strip him naked, they'll put him in a jail cell, they'll deprive him of sleep.
Put him on suicide watch
This is
because he
just
might
what they
kill
did
himself.
to Bradley.
Yeah,
That's exactly what they did.
And then they will destroy his character. And,
Yes.
you know, you literally go insane if you get sleep deprived for too
Right.
long, and you know the bright lights, the cold floors, whatever it may be.
Right.
You know he has to piss himself and shit himself and have nothing to. I mean, just torture. And then when he goes insane, I see he's a crazy person.
Yeah.
He's a crazy person.
But again, let's always remember that the point of torture isn't to extract information. It's to get you to say something they want you to say.
Yep.
And what they wanted Chelsea Manning to say was that Julian Assange and him were in cahoots. So they could go
So they
after
go
Julian
after-
Assange, right?
yeah.
So if Julian Assange wasn't in cahoots with Bradley Manning, then he's just being a journalist, which is what he was.
Right, and of course they also said that Assange was suddenly a rapist.
No,
out of
he's a
nowhere and all that. But
rapist!
okay, so this obviously isn't going to go anywhere, and we're going to keep staying on it here. But let's move on to what a lot of people were saying was the lie of the year and this whole Obamacare craziness. This is a little compilation of if you like your plan, you can keep it.
You can keep your plan if you are satisfied with it.
If you like the plan you have, you can keep it.
If you like your plan and you like your doctor, you won't have to do a thing. You keep your plan. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan. If you've got health insurance, you can keep it. If you like your health care plan, you will keep your plan. If you've got health insurance, you like your doctor, you like your plan, you can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan.
If you have insurance that you like, then you will be able to keep that insurance. If you like your doctor or healthcare plan, you can keep it.
If you like your health care plan, you can keep your health care plan.
Okay, so there are many, many, many more examples of that. That was actually just clips from 2009, as you probably saw. All right, so we're starting with two lies here, I guess. Do you consider this one a lie, though? Because they're saying that this isn't a lie, that that's really what he thought from the beginning.
No, it's not a lie, and it's really stupid to equate the two lies. I mean, they're nothing similar, and this is what frustrates me all the time about the media saying, well, everybody lies, the left lies, the right lies. Well, there are different kinds of lies. And this is like a marketing tactic that went awry, and it's hard to explain a 2,000-page Obamacare Act in a quick, convenient radio spot or TV spot. So they went with simplicity and said, you can keep your plan if you like it. Instead of saying, you can keep your plan if you like it, unless one of these 18 different qualifiers come into play, in which case these 47 other things come into play, in which case another 100 things come into play, and then it's a muddled, complicated message. It's not a big deal. And should he have maybe said it a little bit more, I don't know, maybe he should have equivocated a bit more and said, there are conditions and other terms and conditions that might come into play.
Right.
But that just invites,
Right.
a whole new can of worms.
Then they would spend the whole time, after he gave that speech, everybody, the round table at CNN would
Right.
spend the whole time talking about that little thing he said. What about those people who can't? So, exactly. So it was a technical
Right,
inaccuracy.
It's a marketing. I think that's the word. It was a marketing ploy. He was a salesman selling something. So I agree. It's not necessary. It's not a bold-faced absolute lie because he was doing what he had to do to get the thing sold. But shouldn't we hold him to a slightly higher account than that?
No,
or is it just because the dialogue is so stupid that the CNN roundtable would have got caught up in it?
I'm really okay. You know what? I don't give President Obama a pass on anything. I'll give him a pass on this because, first of all, the people who are criticizing him for saying that, The reason why he had to say that was so that he could sell that plan, which the majority of people can keep their goddamn plans. And if you lose your plan, you're going to get a better plan. So so he was lying. Hey, I'm lying. I said you're going to get 1 scoop of ice cream. You're going to get 2. You know what I mean? That's the kind of lie he did just now, right? So I don't think those are the same kind of lies. And the people who are criticizing him the hardest for that, the reason why he had to do this and sell this plan and give you a plan that you might is because that's the plan that they came up with, because they won't let us have our plan, which is single payer. We want single payer. Barack Obama would implement it, except those other motherfuckers won't let us have it. So he has to implement their plan. He does, and they still shit on him.
Right, and the irony, of course, is that the system was broken in the first place, and we're already paying for all the people that go to the emergency room. And
those people are losing their health insurance anyway. So we're talking about the private market, which those people lose their plans all the time. Every year they have to get a new plan.
Yes, the problem with Obamacare is twofold. One, pro-Obama folks have to stop pretending like this is some sort of great cure-all, like some kind of panacea. Like, holy shit, now we have Obamacare, things are going to be so awesome. It's not true. And on the flip side, the other problem is the people who are opposed to it have to stop pretending that this is the apocalypse. Obamacare will destroy everyone. It's like slavery.
Yeah.
It's like the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Like, it's neither one of those things. It's like a small movement from what we had before to a slightly better system, where now we have previously uninsured people with insurance, and you can't deny people
Previously uninsurable people can now be insured.
Right, and it's a small marginal improvement with some marginal downsides. Calm down. Everyone should calm down.
Yeah, I think
that's the point people need to hear more.
Yeah, and I think the part that I see slightly different is the part about the sales thing. I'm not so sure I believe that the ends justify the means always. So in this case, he was selling something that he probably knew wasn't exactly the truth. And I get the marketing part of it. I get you had to do it. But we all sort of expected better from him, I guess probably 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and now we don't anymore. And I guess that's the part that leaves me disappointed.
I don't see this as some sort of like vicious, malicious lie. I see this as
like a lie to get us into a war.
Yeah,
right.
I see this as like a bad marketing job by people who came up with a system that's not all that great, but they're trying to pitch it as one.
Yeah.
So
I think to me the better lies, or the lies that kind of pissed me off this year, were all of the lies that John Kerry kept telling about Syria. And he would do it with such indignation, such righteous indignation. And if you disagree with him, then these are indisputable facts.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
Well, I'm pretty sure that the three of us were the most anti-war people.
I think you're right.
At TYT, which in retrospect now, Kerry kept saying this is Hitler, Assad's Hitler. Well, now we've done nothing about Hitler. So it's
we let Hitler go.
Hitler.
Apparently that's okay if Hitler was willing to negotiate a little bit.
Right, then no problem.
We would have been okay with them. Yeah, so, and by the way, let's say we were right. We were right about Syria. No need to go to war in Syria. No need to drop $100 million worth of bombs in Syria and kill a bunch of people. Because what's that saying? There's no flag big enough that could cover the shame of murdering innocents.
You gave me a perfect finish on that one.
Okay.
I can't beat that one. All right, let's move on to the gays, because it was a big year for the gays. And we can't do a show around here without talking about the gays. Of course, Prop 8 was struck down. Gay marriage just in the last couple of weeks passed judicially has been passed now in Ohio and in Utah. But of course, not everything was perfect, because Duck Dynasty, Phil Robertson, the granddad, I guess, of the Ducks. Well, take a look.
You actually become a fool. You know what you do? You suppress the truth about God by your wickedness. And you know what happens? His wrath is poured upon you. Don't believe it? First they say there is no God. Get him out of your mind. Then they bow down to birds, animals, and reptiles, and to each other. And the first thing you see coming out of them is gross sexual immorality. They will dishonor their bodies with one another, degrade each other. Is that going on in the United States of America?
Is that going on? Yes, actually, Phil, it is. This is a free country. We're allowed to do with our bodies what we so please. Okay, so as you all know, A&E, let me just real quick,
Yeah.
A&E suspended him, of course. Everyone went nuts. He got reinstated. It had nothing to do with the First Amendment. That is the point, because everyone kept saying First Amendment. I was watching Greta Van Susteren on Fox News going on with Rick Santorum that the First Amendment is under attack. Steve, can you explain why it wasn't a First Amendment issue?
You're a lawyer.
Please,
Yeah.
you're a lawyer.
The First Amendment proscribes the government, not a private entity, from preventing speech. And there are, time, place, and manner restrictions. So for example, at TYT, I could pass a rule that says if you say the word hamburger, you're fired. That's not an infringement of free speech.
Right.
I could pass a rule that says, you know what? If you vote Democrat, you're fired. Actually, that might be a problem. Okay. But if I say the new rule, if you sing, you're fired. Whatever it may be, that's not a violation of your freedom of speech. It's not. It's only when the government comes into play.
So I don't want to get too hung up on the free speech issue, but isn't this exactly what happened? Him being suspended at first, them making some sort of we're a pro-LGBT company, so we're going to suspend you. Then the market dictated that he came back because they realized they were going to lose a lot of money. Isn't this exactly how it should have worked?
I guess that's how.
I'm not defending the guy, obviously.
No, I just think it's funny that he said they degrade each other with their sex. And do they degrade each other? Is there anything more degrading than that beard? Are you kidding me? Look at the way you dress. Do you really value yourself? I don't think so. When was the last time he was to a dentist? I think if he really valued himself, he wouldn't be worried about where other people are sticking their penises, and maybe he would get cleaned up and put on a nice jacket. That's all I'm
Hygiene,
saying.
Demi Dore.
Okay, so
I like your jacket, Jimmy.
thank you very much.
Very nice, and thank you. We're all cleanly shaved today. Very nice.
Thank you very much. It is a pretty badass jacket, and so that's what I said. People said to me, "Well, why should I'm tired if someone says something and they automatically get fired?" Somebody said this to me, and I'm like, "Well, first of all, you have to take them on a case-by-case basis, right?" So I think what Paula Deen did was much less worse than what Donald Trump did. Yet Donald Trump still gets to keep his show on NBC. So I think you have to go case by case. And what I'm saying about this Duck Dynasty guy is that if you work at A&E, if you're a producer or a senior producer or a marketing guy, how do you now work for that show? How do you promote that guy who is promoting hatred against gays with a Y?
Yeah. So, but isn't this how the system should work?
I think
That the market dictated what happened.
I totally agree with you, Dave. I think this is exactly how it worked out. So A&E, if I'm A&E, if I'm an executive there, I would think, well, this guy said very hateful things. So this might hurt our brand. This might hurt the bottom dollar. So I'm going to suspend him, and we'll figure out what we should do. And then there's a huge backlash, and people are like, no, we want this guy. I'm like, okay, he's back on the air, okay?
Right, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, and look, and that's what corporations are supposed to do. They need to maximize profits, and if you don't do it, guess what happens? You get fired.
Right.
So recently, the CEO of Hyundai Motors, he got replaced. Even though he did a great job for like 3.5 years, the last 6 months, not so great, gone. Okay, that's what happens in any private corporation. With respect to this particular guy, so a lot of people are very offended by his comments, and I find his comments hideous. Actually, the part that was the worst, we didn't even play.
Right, that wasn't even.
Yeah.
I was just throwing an extra sign because we've seen all the other.
Yeah,
stuff so
because
many
the
times.
part where he talks about like, what are you gonna do, Pennsylvania? It's kind of scary stuff, and he's holding that weird like torture-like stuff in his left hand. It's all creepy, and I mean, I think as far as like anti-gay commentary and inciting violence against gays, this is as bad as it gets that I've ever personally seen. All that being said, if he has a show, Duck Dynasty on A&E, and he's not saying those things on air, I don't like it. I don't watch the show, but I don't feel this need to go on a crusade to get it off the air. If people,
100%. I've never, in any of these things, Alec Baldwin or Paula Deen, I've never advocated for any of them to be fired because they can say stupid shit and then we can make fun of them for it. That's what America's all about.
By the same token, if they do get fired, then it's not like a violation of free speech.
They're not going to jail.
Yeah, I mean, people can fire people all the time for It's just a calculus that you make as a TV executive.
Can I just make two
Yeah.
really quick? Is I don't understand why religious, because everybody came out and defended Duck Dynasty guy based on he's just religious. It's religion. It's his religion. What about freedom of religion? It's religion to hate other people and to preach incendiary, hateful things against other people. That's what Jesus did.
Right.
So that's what they keep saying.
The
and
love of religion is always couched in hatred.
It's
of
always,
gays. Isn't
yeah,
that
so
weird?
you can use religion, of course, we know this, they use religion to justify slavery. They use religion to justify every war there ever was. So they use religion now to justify hating gays, right? And persecuting gays and marginalizing them and keeping them from getting equal rights. Why is it that if you're religious, you get a pass for being an ignorant, backward motherfucker? Why do religious, oh, he's religious, he's the bishop, oh, he's a religious, so he hates gays, so that's okay, but let's have him over for dinner. No, fuck you. You're ignorant, that's backward thinking, and it's not okay to say it's your religion. Then isn't that what the KKK could say? It's my religion. This is what Jesus, they think they're all Christian too. So, and my other thing was when Alec Baldwin, you know, he's called the guy a cocksucking faggot,
Yeah.
and he said that he called him a cocksucking fathead.
Right.
Right, because he thought the faggot part was the bad part. But of course he said, because no one says that cocksucking and then said, nobody says, you motherfucking fart snarkle. You know, you keep it consistent
Right.
with the dirtiness of the words. Okay.
Well, and that's going to make another point too. Look, I never watched Duck Dynasty. I don't know if it's a good show or a bad show. Now, if you are a fan of the show, that's fine. I mean, you can like the show.
Yeah.
But you don't have to like everything about that guy. And once you find out that the guy is hateful in many ways, there's no need to worship him. There's no need to run to his defense to have these opinions. I mean, I just don't, that's the part that I don't get. These fanatics who are so angry that people are upset by his comments. They're very upsetting comments. Of course you should be upset. Like O.J. Simpson, I used to be a big fan of him until we found out he probably most likely murdered,
Right.
brutally murdered 2 people. Then I'm not as much of a fan anymore.
But is part of that, though, that we have these groups, these advocacy groups, like in this case, GLAAD and the HRC, that they have to do it? Like, what if they don't jump on it, then what are they in business for, right?
No.
Well,
I think they should. I'm talking about the fans
Just
of the
the
show.
average
No, I'm talking about
person.
the fans of the show who are so angry that people are upset by Phil Robertson's comments. I'm like, why are you angry about that? You should be angry. You should be upset by those comments too. I mean, so I love sports, and I love the show Modern Family. If I found out that the guy who plays Phil Dunphy, Ty Burrell,
Yeah.
let's say I found out he's a horrible misogynist and talks about raping bitches all the time, I would have a real problem. I wouldn't say, well, I love Ty Burrell, I love the show, therefore everything he says, I'm okay with that too. I want people to separate the show and the actor and all of that from what they do in their private life, and if it's bad, you can not like that person. It's not a big deal.
I can still enjoy Annie Hall, even though I find Woody Allen personally to be reprehensible. I can
I
still
think it's
enjoy
like too
his-
Jewish.
He's too, yeah.
He's a little too Jewish.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Also married his daughter.
I mean,
so.
oh, what?
Yeah, did you
what
know-
did he do?
you didn't know that?
I didn't hear that.
Also, he married his
No,
daughter.
Mel Gibson didn't say anything about that.
Last thing on this, what do you make of the
can I-
persecuted majority we have in the country? That immediately these people all think that they're the ones being persecuted, and it's like, you know what? No, gay people are actually the ones that don't have equal rights. If you're a Christian in this country, of course you have equal rights. There's nothing you're denied as a Christian, but there is
That's
something.
not true, Dave. There's a war on Christmas, and Christians are persecuted at every turn. The atheists and the gays and the Jews, they've all the power.
All the power.
Yeah.
All the power.
I went out. I tried to buy my wife a Christmas present. The stores were all closed.
So
I
there
don't
is
know.
a war on
There is this
Christmas.
war on Christmas. I want to buy a Christmas present. Like, no, you can buy this, but not for Christmas.
Yeah.
That's what they told me. It was really weird.
But really, what do you think about the idea that immediately they think they're the ones persecuted?
Well, that's
it's a great psychological
it's the oldest trick
right?
in the book, right?
Yeah.
So that if you watch Fox News and they're always the victims, right? And it's just funny that the dominant culture sees themselves as a victim somehow to the minority culture, which is the way they've been playing it out. And it's good because it riles up people who don't think deeply, and they gets them to hate people they need to hate so they can push their agenda forward.
I just want to say one
Bring
thing.
us home, Steve.
If you ever hear someone use the word wickedness, disregard everything that person says. That
Yes.
person's a clown. Who says the word wickedness?
Right. And let me can I say two things?
You got it.
That Duck Dynasty guy is fighting same-sex attraction. There's no doubt about
Yeah?
it. There's no
'Cause
doubt
that's
about
the
it.
one thing that people haven't been saying about him,
David,
but yeah.
there's no doubt about that
gotta
guy's
be.
fight. Because I'm telling you, if there's anything I know for sure, is that straight guys don't give a fuck about what gay guys do with their penises. They don't give a shit. It's only the guys who think they might like it that makes them uncomfortable, that they have to go, I don't want you to be able to do that, and I think you're a horrible person. And by the way, if you read up about Duck Dynasty guy, he was a Mr. Crazy drug addict fuckface in the 60s and 70s. So he was the exact thing he's railing against, and that's always how it is. The
was born again, man.
The silent sinners always scream the loudest. So whenever I see somebody publicly moralizing, I know that guy is doing something with his penis that he feels bad about.
Good finish, Jimmy Dore. All right, let's move on. Gallup just released a poll of their most admired people, or of Americans' most admired people of 2013. So, of course, they had to split this by sex, because if you put men and women on a list together, God only knows what would happen. So the most admired man, our president, Barack Obama. I thought number 2 is kind of interesting, George Bush at 4%. Now, these numbers are all pretty low, because they're just walking around asking people, who do you admire? So it's just like the same names that get popped up. The Pope, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Clint Eastwood, Ron Paul, Ted Cruz, Romney. So it's all over the place politically. And then let's take a look at the women. Hillary at 15%. That's the big one. Oprah kind of down. I guess the failure of OWN has taken its toll on her. Michelle Obama, Sarah Palin, Condi, Angela Merkel, Angelina Jolie. So it's pretty light on celebrities like that.
But the women, 4 women of color in that, and only 1 man of color in the guys. I don't know if you noticed that.
Interesting. What do you think that means?
I think that, I don't know, I guess white guys are cooler with dark women. I think that's what, that doesn't go the other way.
Little jungle
I know,
fever.
I have it. I definitely have it.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah.
right.
My wife's 100% Mexican, so I like the dark skin.
There you go. What do you feel about this admiration list? Do you admire all these people? Is there someone glaringly omitted from that list?
No, I find this list comical, and I find it comical because it's basically just a list of whoever is the most well-known.
Right, it's a well-known list.
It's not really a list of people that you admire. And the fact that Sarah Palin is on this list
Yes.
with 5% of the vote just
More than
makes
the Pope.
just makes the whole thing useless and completely lacking in any kind of credibility whatsoever.
Wow, Steve-O's
Yeah.
sticking it to the Gallup people. That's
Yeah,
right.
I mean, Sarah Palin is just a world-class idiot with virtually no redeeming value whatsoever. And whether you're conservative or a progressive, there's no reason to like her at all. She is a bumbling idiot, an opportunist, a quitter. She's done nothing with herself except she's a fame whore. That's it.
Yeah.
Why would you admire that? It's unbelievable.
So when I was in high school, I had 2 of the books that were assigned. One was The Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, and the other one was George Orwell's 1984. So do these people who like Sarah Palin, do they not read those books in high school? Are they not assigned those things? Do they not have the same experience? Do they not watch Mr. Smith Goes to Washington? Do they not understand how the rich and the corporations control everything and pervert democracy on a daily basis? Do they not understand that?
Well, I think if I could jump into the mind of a Sarah Palin supporter for a second,
Okay.
I think they see her as the fighter against the big government of 1984.
Oh.
They see her as this anti-establishment
Yes.
figure. That's what
Except
she is,
she's
because
not.
she's fighting bears and
Right.
doing all that stuff. So they see her as the fighter against that, I think.
Well,
does that make any sense?
And isn't it wrong for
Steve,
us?
I lost Steve there.
And it's
He
wrong for us-
zoned out.
It's wrong for us to say that the people who support her are ignorant and dumb, and they lack the ability to decipher and see through things, right?
No, I think you have to be ignorant and dumb to support Sarah Palin. You have to.
How could you not? I mean, you.
And look, I don't even mean that to offend those out there who support Sarah Palin. I'm just saying you really need to open your mind, read, and have some critical thinking, because she is not on your side.
Right.
She is on her own side. She's a terrible person.
She couldn't be more
She really
transparent.
is.
That's the thing. You can't see through a Sarah Palin then I have to make a judgment call and say you're not on the same intellectual level that I am, and but yet your vote counts just as much as mine, which is wrong.
That is a scary thought.
Yes.
Is there anyone that you admire
We should
that
have an
wasn't
IQ.
on there at all? I guess somebody that we talked about earlier, Edward Snowden, probably, maybe
Yes.
Of
Bradley
course.
Manning or Chelsea
Both
Manning.
those.
Anyone else that's?
I would say, people are going to say I'm brown nosing, but I'm going to say Cenk Uygur.
Good night, everybody.
Well, look. Well, now that you brought it up,
Try to get my show back. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah. But you know what? Okay, look. So Cenk and I, we go really far back. So it's hard for me to see him as a celebrity the way other people see him or anything like that. But he is a very admirable person because I know intimately the sacrifices that he's made, financial sacrifices and personal freedom sacrifices that he's made to do what he does and to bring voices like yours to the forefront and try to do something to change our society for the better and our media for the better and our democracy for the better.
I begrudgingly admire him.
All right, well, we're going to do a little something about TYT at the end of this whole thing, but let's talk about the reverse of TYT, but there is a T in it, the Tea Party. This was a big year for the Tea Party in a lot of scary ways. I think it culminated, the highlight for them, I think, was the Ted Cruz filibuster right before the government shut down, and if you forgot it, well, Dr. Seuss.
The difference with green eggs and ham is when Americans tried it, they discovered they did not like green eggs and ham, and they did not like Obamacare either. They did not like Obamacare in a box with a fox, in a house, or with a mouse. People are frustrated because their elected officials don't listen.
All right, we are subjected to a tremendous amount of idiocy out of Washington, mostly out of Congress. Was that the stupidest moment? I mean, was that just the dumbest? We had the biggest lie before with Clapper, but was that type of thing and what then led to the shutdown? Was that our dumbest political moment?
It's bullshit because he's like, the American people tried it and didn't like it. They didn't try Obamacare. It doesn't go into effect until 2014.
Right.
The
website wasn't even not working.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The website had yet to fail and crash.
Right.
And they're already bashing it. So look, I mean, the problem with Ted Cruz is that he's actually, I could see why he's appealing, because he says just enough truth, and that's why he's so much more dangerous. Because he does tap into that frustration that people feel with their government. But he's not the guy that's going to bring about the change that they really want, because we all feel that. The fact is, our representatives, they don't represent us. They represent the moneyed interests. So Cruz purports to be the guy who will bypass the moneyed interest and he will support us, like the actual people, but it's just not true. And he at best, he will represent the fringe, the extreme fringe.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that when government works and when it works well, it does great things for society. And it's like having a freeway system, it's having the parks, it's having an army, it's having
FDA.
It's having the FDA, so you don't die from eating poison. It's having a clean environment. I mean, we need to have cops.
Yes, firemen.
Yeah, regulators.
Yes.
Kind of enforcing the rules so that we're all better off. We can't have anarchy, obviously, and Ted Cruz taps into that. Because we all get frustrated by the government, whether it's a parking ticket or you're paying your taxes, we get frustrated, and he taps into that very effectively.
Yeah,
So,
well, he does that really well, and there's something interesting about somebody that, in a weird way, the far left and the far right should all be agreeing on certain things about money, basically, but he's tapping into a whole other paranoid delusion thing. Was this a good year or a bad year for the Tea Party?
I think it was ultimately a bad year for the Tea Party. I think that, it's the interesting thing because Ted Cruz says, not popular, that people don't like Obamacare. People tried it, they don't like it, they reject it. Well, let me tell you something, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz's approval ratings in America are 14%. Obamacare's approval rating is 46%. Okay, so it's by a factor of, I don't know, 3. It's more popular than you are, Obamacare. And that poll about Obamacare was taken at its lowest point in the rollout. So when the big fiasco was happening, they took that, and people still liked it 46%. Let me tell you something else. When you take individual parts of Obamacare and you ask Republicans how they feel about it, overwhelmingly they like most of Obamacare, except for the individual mandate. But if they were told where that came from, they switch. So that's the amazing thing about Ted Cruz, and Steve is right. He's appealing because he taps into our frustration with government, but then he doesn't give you a real solution. What he does is fuck you, nothing. He just goes, Obamacare is fucked up, so I'm going to give you nothing to replace it. I got the best healthcare plan in the world. I got mine. Screw you. That's Ted Cruz.
Well, to literally give an example of what you're saying, the government shutdown cost how much? $24 billion, I think, and it did not accomplish anything.
A thing.
Not a thing. Should we on the left have a Tea Party? Do you think that the Democrats actually need a Tea Party to push or to pull more left?
Well, I liked Howard Dean when he was running for president in 2008, and he kept saying, I'm from the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party. And of course, they had to shut him down right away because he was speaking what people really wanted to hear. So I think definitely we need more Howard Deans. But then Howard Dean then got co-opted, because his party won. So now he's a good Democrat. So, he shuts the fuck up.
They made him the head of the DNC.
They make him the head. Sure, they give him this big prize at the end. So...
What do you think? Do the progressives need a political movement like they have the Tea Party?
Yes, absolutely. And I think most Americans would be on their side.
Yes.
If you poll Americans on any issue, they poll way, way progressive in overwhelming majorities. It's just that we don't have representatives who actually represent those interests because they represent the interests of the moneyed interests.
Right.
So yes, if we had people like, there are a few, like Alan Grayson's a good guy, Bernie Sanders. There are a few who are terrific, and their problem is that they just don't get the fair treatment from the media. The media treats them like they're crazy people. Oh, the extreme left. Oh, they want things like, clean air and water and standards so that oil companies just can't rape our natural resources. They're crazy like that.
They don't want to cut Social Security and Medicare, Steve. They don't want to cut Social Security and Medicare, the two things that don't add to our deficit that aren't a problem.
Yeah.
So do they need like a celebrity then, basically? Because there are people. Bernie Sanders is obviously too old to really become. He doesn't want anything bigger than what he's got. Or somebody like Grayson is just sort of back in it again. But is it going to be Matt Damon or somebody? Would it take somebody like that to really build a party?
It would be nice to see a progressive caucus actually speak with a unified voice. And, there are enough, there's Ron Wyden, there's Senator Brown, there's Bernie Sanders. And it's if they would just come together and all keep constantly, that's the beauty of the right wing is that, George Bush he said it out loud. He said, governing is all just about launching propaganda. You just have to keep launching it until it sets in. And that's what the Democrats don't do. They don't have a message. They don't have a central message. And I think the progressives need to pick up the ball and have a message. And, you talk about the Tea Party. I think we're the Tea Party of the Democrats, the Wolf Pack and the Young Turks and people like us are, but we need to somehow influence real leadership, we need to get them to be more responsive to us because the government isn't responsive. If you look at the perfect example of that from this last year, as we're talking about year end, is that the gun bill, which had 90% support in the public, of course it didn't pass because what Steve says, the moneyed interests didn't want it to pass.
Yeah. Look, I don't know if I have time, but
just
a real quick thing. Look at our taxes. Taxing is one of the biggest part of what government does. The Progressive Caucus proposed a progressive budget, and what they would do is they would tax us at graduated rates, going all the way up from nothing to I think $1 billion. So right now the tax rates don't make any sense because, for example, if you make above $250,000, you pay the same rate as a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
Okay. Obviously, from $50,000 to $250,000, that's a big gap. But from $250,000 to $20 million to to 5 billion is a much bigger gap. It should be graduated. So let's say the top marginal rate is 33%, whatever it may be. If you make above $1 million, it should be maybe 36%. Above $10 million, maybe 38%. Above $1 billion, maybe 42%.
Maybe even 42%.
Yeah. And if we did that, you know what would happen? It would wipe out the deficit. We can fund education. We could fund, alternative energy. We could do so much. And why would the conservatives and the Tea Party not be in favor of this? Because it's the most fair way of doing things.
Stealing money from the producers, the people who are the job creators. You're stealing money from them to give to people who are lazy. That's what they would say. And I'll tell you this about tax. You say let's raise the income tax so billionaires, but billionaires don't pay income tax. Mitt Romney proved that. So what they do is they pay a 15% investment tax, right? So they pay capital gains taxes. So we need to get capital gains back up to where. But the idea behind capital gains is if we lower the amount of money we tax when someone invests in a business, then people will invest more. The problem is people are still going to invest no matter how much you tax them because people want to make fucking money. You're going to make 70% return or a 60% return. I'll take both, whichever one I can get. I'll take 50% return. I'll take a 20%. If I can invest money and make money back, that's what we're talking about. Savings accounts, let's remember, pay nothing anymore. So nobody talks about that. Not being an incentive to save.
I'm with you.
I'll only save if I get 75%.
Yes,
Right. 60% I'm not going to say. But doesn't this go to the messaging problem? Because the 1%, we all talk about the 1%, and it's a great number. It's like if you like your plan, you can keep it. It's just a simple thing. But really, the 1%, we did a thing on it a couple of weeks ago. It's something like $250,000. You're the 1%. But you can have $250,000 and really not be rolling in a ton, and living a nice, decent, middle, upper class life. But so it's not about that. We should have a progressive tax that really, when you're talking about millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars, and then ultimately the billions of dollars, so that the Walmart family doesn't own as much as the bottom 40%.
Well, the estate tax used to take care of all that at the end. So then when you died, you got to have all your money for your whole life. And then when you died, we took half your money. And then, because, you got to benefit from living in this country and this society that we built. Now you have to pay for it after you're dead. But then they stopped doing that because they had
it's around 5 million now or something.
They had a vote to see who had to pay taxes: dead people, dead millionaires, or living people. And guess who won? Fucking dead millionaires. That's how powerful money is.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, it's true, and it's ridiculous because it's not really the top 1% that's the problem. It's the top 0.1%.
Yes.
Because if you're in the top 1%, your interests are pretty much aligned with most people in the 98%. Because my analogy is this: if you're making $250,000 a year, you know what that means? That means you can afford to eat the nice steak. If you're making $50,000 a year, you get to eat a burger. Okay. If we're making less, you have to maybe get a hot dog or whatever it may be. But if you're making $20 million a year, you own the whole restaurant and the entire city block. Okay. So it's a game changer. It's a totally different level when you're making millions and millions of dollars. I mean, this 250s. I mean, it's a Hunger Games. It's like the uber rich making the people who make $250,000 fight with the people who make $50,000. Okay, that's a silly fight.
Right, it's the wrong fight.
Yeah.
But on that note, hot dogs on me after the show.
Can I give you a final thought on this? And before 1980, the upper 5% had accumulated $40 trillion, which is a lot of money, $40 trillion. Since then, the upper 5% have accumulated more money than the entire human race had produced prior to 1980. Think about that stat. That's a big stat, and that comes from David Stockman, Ronald Reagan's budget director.
Right. So a segment on Tea Party. Basically, we ended with progressive tax. Look it up. All right, final part of our year in review. I want to talk to these guys about whether this was a good year or a bad year for the U.S., for the world, for the Young Turks, for us personally. America had a very up and down year, I think, between the NSA and drones and everything with Obamacare and all that stuff. Does this a net gain or a net loss for America? Was this a good year for America? Now I sound like a cable news person that we would make fun of with these stupid polls. But what do you think, the heart of it?
I'm going to say that there was a lot of disparaging things or dispiriting. I don't know. That's the
Dispiriting or discouraging?
discouraging things that happened this
yeah.
year, but there's also good things. I mean, I think Edward Snowden is a positive. I think Chelsea Manning is a positive thing that there's still this. I mean, those are true Americans as far as I'm concerned. And then the Young Turks raised over $400,000, which just goes to for their new studio, which just goes to show you that there's people out there who care.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to the Young Turks in a second, but the bigger than the Young Turks, America.
America. Was it a good year or a bad year for America? I think it was a bad year. The reason why I think it was a bad year is that we are continuing on the same path that we were on last year and the year before, and every year since 1980, basically, which is that there's greater and greater wealth inequality. The income gap is getting worse and worse, and the gap between those who have everything and those who have so precious few is just getting worse. And nothing has happened in 2013, in my mind, to derail that process in any way.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole Citizens United thing has been juiced up, more and more, and our Supreme Court seems just as corporate, just as pro-corporate as any other part of our government now. And I think America is losing its way. And I've said this many times before, like, America to me is more than just the physical place. It's an idea. It's an idea that we have equal opportunity. We have these certain inalienable rights, and those rights are disappearing. I mean, the Fourth Amendment is pretty much gone, and I don't. It saddens me. I wish we could, put on the brakes and reverse our trajectory, because I think if we continue this path, it's going to be just worse.
Yeah, well, I think you're particularly hitting on about, we're a nation of immigrants, and everyone wanted to come here. And I wonder if I was an immigrant now, or an immigrant family from anywhere, from Latin America now, would you feel that this is the place where you can make it anymore?
So they've already done studies that's proven that we now have less economic mobility in the United States than in other Western democracies. So it's going exactly what Steve said. It's going the opposite way. And why does income inequality matter, Jimmy? Because if I've also studied this, and they find out that the societies that are the most unequal inside their societies suffer from the most societal ills. They suffer from more crime, more out of wedlock births, every bad thing that comes with it. It's not about the wealth of the society, but the inequality inside of it. And that goes for the United States and every other country too.
Yeah, so what about for the world? Good year, bad year? I mean, the main thing, I guess, is Syria has been just locked in a civil war that literally hundreds of thousands of people have been killed. We didn't do anything, and it's still going on. And then there's stuff going down in Africa right now. I mean, for the world, did the cause of freedom and equality and all that kind of stuff move in a good direction overall, you think?
Oh, wow.
For humanity, I'm giving you a big one.
For humanity, I'm going to give you a bit kind of a cop-out answer, I suppose. I think I'm going to say good for the world, in the sense that I do believe that the arc of history bends towards justice. I think Martin Luther King is correct. If you take any particular segment of it, it may be a bad period. So 2013 alone, is it a good period or a bad period for the world? I don't know, but I'm going to say good, just because I think things are overall trending in the right direction in terms of more equality and justice for more people. It's a generic answer. I can be totally wrong.
He's trying to be positive for New Year's. I appreciate that. What do you got?
Well, hopefully we've hit a tipping point. Hopefully, Occupy Wall Street happened. They crushed them. But there's people, now there's the Pope, right? And so that's a big deal, I think. The Pope, I can't believe that. I'm really happy that we have a Pope, right? Because I'm so anti everything about the Pope. But at least he has a message of economic equality, and that capitalism, that there's brutalities involved in a capitalistic society that we need to guard against, that we're not doing anymore. So I think that's a good thing for the world in general. I think the Pope, of all the leaders, the Pope is going to be the guy who will make the biggest difference going forward in the next decade, I think, in the world. And now, the Pope starts talking about that stuff. The next thing you know, Barack Obama starts talking about income inequality. All
like
of a sudden,
2 days later.
Yeah, like all of a sudden he's talking about it. Yeah, I guess he's right. So I think that's what has to happen. You have to change, and we have to call out these phony Christians.
Right, Rush Limbaugh. He's anti-Catholic suddenly. The Pope's not a Catholic.
Pope's not. Rush Limbaugh knows more about Christianity than the Pope, apparently.
Of course.
So we need to call out these phony Christians who have turned Jesus into a mascot of America, who hates the poor, hates the gays, and protects rich people. That's their Jesus. And of course, the Pope is telling you that's not the way we should go. And there are brutalities to capitalism that we have to look at.
Yeah.
I think, and we haven't looked at them because the theory behind capitalism that the right proposes, or the Ayn Rand people, they say, well, you have the opportunity. We want everyone to have the opportunity. If I was born poor, I would work really hard, get an education, and I would move upward. And if I didn't work hard, I didn't deserve to be. Well, they don't ever look at the facts, though. What is the outcome of your society? Well, the fact that most people don't reach the upper levels
people
of
don't move up
well,
anymore.
that's their problem.
Yeah.
So they don't care about really what happens in practicality. They only care about theories, which is what Ayn Rand people are all about. Theories, this purest idea of how the world should be, but it's not how it is.
Yeah, but those books were so thick.
They're
They
so
just look like they
thick.
know what they're saying.
Yeah.
All right, so away from the world for the Young Turks. Good year, bad year. I mean, from where I'm sitting, this was a pretty great year, and you hit on it. We raised a lot of money that was crowd-funded by the people who watch what we do and care about what we do. So I think this, would you say this was a changing year for the Young Turks?
Yeah, 2013 was a very, very good year for the Young Turks, primarily in the sense that we've kind of became a bigger company in the sense that, like you guys are much more integral parts of the Young Turks. Before 2013, Jimmy would come on every now and then, but not in a systematic way.
Yeah.
And we've kind of gotten our independence from Current TV, where we were very much wrapped up in the TV show. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there. Al Gore never funded this company or had any big role here. Cenk simply had a show on Current TV.
Right.
But that show took up a lot of our time and our resources. We didn't get paid for Cenk being on the show. Cenk got paid. So getting that off our plate and being able to focus on growing our company as an independent enterprise, bringing on more talent, creating more shows, and having a bigger following, having a louder voice has all been very good. But I will say that 2014 looks to be a transformational year for the Young Turks. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, listen, I've only been here it's been 9 months. It seems like I've been here for a lot longer than that, but it's been pretty great. And my final question to you guys, because people like when you get personal, for Steve-O, good year, bad year, give me a highlight. Now I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, 2013 was a great year for me. Look, I don't believe in a God, but I do thank my blessings. First of all, I have a great family. I have amazing friends. I have a job that I love, and I get to work with great people every single day. I still am healthy and can play sports. Not quite at the level that I would like to play, but close enough. I'm happy with it. My kids are growing up, and there's been a lot of positive changes in their lives, and it's been a very, very good year. But to be honest, I think every year has been a great year. So.
Wow, I'm giving you 2. This is
Wow.
tough. This is like when the comedian kills and then you gotta go on right
No
after.
kidding.
And bring it, Jimmy Dore.
Well, I have to say my life has been even better than Steve's.
I also lived with his family, and
His kids really admire me, and we have a good time together. I don't know if this sounds sincere, but it's true. That I would say 2013 probably my best year of my life. I just happier. Working with the Young Turks has been a great experience. It's really it's exciting. It's interesting. I found something I like to do as much as stand up, which I never thought I would, and I love doing this. And I sold a book this year, and made a lot of great new friends. I feel like I went off to Propecia.
that's been your big.
And I got to tell you, because it kills your libido, right? So when you go on Propecia, it kills your libido. But when you go off, mine came back tenfold. And I tell people, I'm back to fucking my wife. I'm crazy about it. I buy her lingerie and stuff now, and we look forward to it. And I'm just like, it's like we just started dating again.
So good year for Jimmy, bad year for Jimmy's wife.
I would just like to say specifically to Phil Robertson that I asked a straight guy about his good year, bad year, and he made it about his penis, not the gay guy. Finally, I'll say this was a great year. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm doing work that I love with people that I love, and I think we're doing something good here. And that's it. We will see you next year. 2014 is going to be a big one, people. Stick with us. We got plenty more.